Part 23. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 222. 221 He took the dragon. Then my Ye family should have died in a hurry? I have so many children in Ye family, are they bad guys? Did they kill anyone in the royal family? Ye Kong roared, throwing out his sword. I'm not a judge. I'm just an avenger, Yusuojian Hua made thin slender cords, holding An Fi Yuan's neck firmly, and then Ye Kong rose into the sky. Come here. The loyal ministers gathered in front of the palace of Jin Mao looked at Ye Kong flying back in a panic. En Rushan. You show me good. This is the first. Where is your mighty power? Where is your Longian anger? You still sit and watch your children, elder mothers, and concubines, all die before you. Ye Kong took out a pitcher plant vine and hung a corpse from a flagpole in front of the palace, and then flew away again. Oh my God, it's the great prince. The emperor was also asked to be the prince, but before the time for a cup of tea came, it became a corpse. In the Tianma geomagnetic array, En Rushan's old tears crisscrossed, distraught, watching his son die in front of him. Even the iron heart can't stand it. Ye Kong. You are too vicious. You must not die, En Rushan cursed as he watched the sky go crazy. The old monk shook his head and sighed, the same is true when you destroy him. The angrily En Rushan suddenly shouted, he is the emperor, he is the emperor. He kills whoever he kills. Only I kill, no one kills me. I'm going to your mother. Huang Jiakai lost his face today, and his heart was upset at the moment. Seeing the emperor was still playing at the moment, he was furious and slammed angrily, I don't know what to repent, you should watch your family is dead. If it weren't for our job to protect you, kick you out now? Then you kick me out? You are the emperor, and you have to mobilize 1,000,000 troops to kill this rebel. When An Yushan saw Ye Kong's Wujuo sword dragging a female corpse, En Rushan became even more crazy. Zhang Shuji, that's Zhang Shujia, the most beloved of you, and your little son, let me out, I'll fight this devil. Huang Jiakai sacrificed an immortal cord, bound En Rushan, and sighed, what about going out? Even if you die, he won't let your children go. You can rest assured that the ancestor in the door will come to the rescue. En Rushan's eyes were red, and he shouted, wait for them to become a lonely widow. This is also no way. The old monk patted En Rushan and sighed, who made you okay and troublesome to get this plague god? Hey, you really are an emperor when you are stupid. This plague god, you actually destroyed him. Aren't you trying to kill yourself? Elixir Mountain, Lian Fanshan monk Dongfu. The old ancestor of Qingyuan was telling the head of the real person, tomorrow I am going to retreat to shock the infancy. If there is something in the mountain you can solve by yourself, if you can't solve it, go to Xiao Yi's father or some other monks who have become Dan. If you are in trouble, go to Hung Ham, try not to disturb me, let alone Fanshan. The ancestors are assured, the disciples know that. I wish the ancestors of the green ancestors to smoothly advance to the Yuan dynasty, and I will add another Yuan Ying monk at the Ling Yaoshan. The fat real man hurriedly saluted. Well, I hope so, Qing said, and said to Bai Yanfan and Ma Xiao Yi who were standing aside, although neither of you is my personal disciple, brother Bai is a disciple of Hong Ying, brother Ma is a close disciple of Lian Fanshan, but I still hope that you can practice with peace of mind. As a monk, cultivation is always the first. Even if you are looking for a dual monk, the most important thing is to see the cultivation, so I have gone to the cliff a few times. The ancestors of King Yi said that these two real people in Zuji were flushed. Since Ye Kong left, Lian Ruolan was sent to Huishan to think over the cliff and retreat. During this period, Ma Xiao Yi and Bai Yanfan did not go there for a walk. Unfortunately, Lian Ruolan did not meet them at all. Yes, the disciples know. While talking, suddenly Qing's eyebrows were raised, and she looked up at the entrance of Dongfu. Later, she took a trick and a golden light flew in. It was a musical note, and Xianxia pierced into it with spirit knowledge, and immediately became angry. Miscellaneous things. Qing-ao suddenly stood up and shouted, useless things, then he slaps the table again and scolds, things that are okay for anything. I won't be able to retreat. Bai Yanfen and Ma Xiaoyi were confused by her three things. Later, after listening to Qingye's comment, they realized that mixed things means that the gas refining little Xiaoyi was empty. I never thought of leaving Linjiashan for a month. Killed Andu and stirred the palace upside down. Useless things, that is to say that Huangjiakai, the two monks in the foundation period, could not even do a little monk who refined the gas and 6 floors, and also activated the Tianmao geomagnetic array. And nothing to find anything is naturally in Rushan. After listening, Ma Xiaoyi wondered, is this Ye Kong the same Ye Daiyu that Sister Ruolin brought back a month ago? It's not him. Yeah, the 8th master of the southern capital Qingyan snorted angrily, this leaf empty seduce her, the most beautiful flower in Linjiashan, and now it's just such a big thing, it just stirred her retreat plan. Really hate, how much hate? Bai Yanfen shook his head and said, but that Ye Kong was a 4-layer refining gas refinery. How did it become the 6th-layer gas refinery? Bai Yanfen was right. Ye Kong left Linjiao Mountain for only 1 month, and the monks of Niu X could not be 2 layers a month. At this speed, the world is invincible after 3 years of practice, and 5 years of practice can rise to immortality. Already. Yeah, the old ancestor of Qinju was also a little strange. Ma Xiaoyi shook his head, I think it is very likely that this Ye Kong, the last time I looked at him, he felt very evil. A gas repairer, it was not a matter of digging 1,000 spirit stones, and he just took out the storage bag. He actually took out a destiny magic weapon and lied to me that he picked it on the road. After hearing what he said, Bai Yanfen said unhappily, Brother Ma, don't grow up your ambition to destroy yourself. Of course he can take out the magic weapon, isn't it because you think that a small gas repairing man killed Jadan? Bai Yanfen laughed loudly after talking, and he was not wrong. After all, the difference between the gas refining period and the Dandan period is too far. For example, you say that an egg hit a stone, but it smashed it into pieces. Is this possible? Is she still an egg? But Master Ma didn't laugh, he always felt that this minor repair was not so simple on the surface. The green ancestor did not laugh, nodded, and said, it is quite possible that he can kill ordinary monks of Dandan. Bai Yanfen's smile came to an abrupt end. Uncle Qingye thought it was possible, and there must be something in it. Just listening to the red lips of the old ancestor, he said, he is carrying a mutant water dragon. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 223. 222 Ventilation Letter. Dragon. He actually has a dragon. The eyes of Bai Yanfen and Ma Xiaoyi were about to fall out. I didn't expect this little monk with gas to take a dragon. In fact, not only the two were surprised, but also the ancestor of Qing. She had lived for hundreds of years and had not seen a dragon yet. The Qingzu ancestor also said, because of the dragon, I have to go this time, and the retreat will be postponed again. You two, follow me. Then let's go now. Bai Yanfen wanted to see the dragon, and he wanted to kill Ye Kong and grab the dragon. However, the old ancestor of Qingyuan has an idea. The dragon is a kind of beast. The conquest of the beast does not have to be caught. Many beasts have to have a chance with you, otherwise, they will not obey you even if they die. Although the water dragon is not a normal beast, it is almost the same, and the ancestor of the green dragon has also thought about this dragon. How can I get this dragon? She thought of an elixir. Go and get ready, I'll go to the warehouse to get something and set off. King Gren's ancestor thought, if you can get a dragon, it will be a late retreat, haha, it's called blessing because of disaster. As soon as the green ancestor left, Ma Xiaoyi froze and was unsure of his mind. However, after walking back and forth more than 10 times, he still gritted his teeth and said, my Ma Xiaoyi lost. Even if he lost, let alone Yekong is so good. After the elixir mountain, the mountain, thinking over the cliff. This is not far from the Lian Fanshan's Dongfu, this is the place where the children of Ling Yaoshan did wrong things and thought about it. In fact, the punishment that has been considered is also symbolic. It is mainly to allow the children to have no thoughts and practice for a while. Little thief, it's been more than a month, and I don't know if you have seen your family now. Have you cured your mother? Lian Ruolan muttered secretly, sitting in a stone room with her legs crossed. Every day, she missed Yekong. It was NT that she did NT feel safe enough in practice, but she missed the last breakthrough. Now she is also practicing in white. She is waiting for the breakthrough time to come again. At this time, it is better to think about Yekong. I was worried, and suddenly my heart felt, then I heard someone knocking on the door of the stone room. Sister Ruolan, Sister Ruolan. Brother Ma's voice sounded outside. Lian Ruolan frowned and said, when did Master Ma become so annoying? In the month, she thought. Brother Bai came most often, and Brother Ma came several times, but she ignored her. Sister Ruolan, come out soon, there is news from Yedaiu. Brother Ma's anxious shout came in. Is there news from a thief? Lian Ruolan raised her eyebrows. If it was Brother Bai's news, she might think about it, but Brother Ma is more sincere, and Lian Ruolan will not give up doubt. Sister Ruolan, can you hear me? Hurry up, you won't come out again, I'm leaving. Brother Ma was also very anxious in his heart and came to share information with his loved ones, which would have made it difficult for him to decide. Knowing that there is still punishment, so at this moment he is a little regretful and decides to knock it one last time. If Lian Ruolan has not come out yet, he will leave. It seems to have entered a state of cultivation. Brother Shima reluctantly turned back and wanted to leave. But at this time, Shimin opened silently, and Lian Ruolan ran out and asked, little thief, no, what news did Yedaiu have? Seeing Lian Ruolan's anxiety, Brother Ma's heart was sad for a while. If the sister was so nervous one day, it would be worth the death. Xiaoyi, tell me, seeing Ma Shizi not talking, Lian Ruolan urged again. That's it, Emperor Nguo killed Yekong's family. Now he's going to revenge in Andu, and he's going to kill Emperor Nguo's family too. Huang Jiakai, they are not Yedaiu's opponents. They opened the Tianyi geomagnetic array and waited for the master. Go to the rescue. Brother Ma said shortly, telling what he knew. Lian Ruolan was suddenly shocked and scolded, it's not good for the dog emperor to kill anyone else, isn't it killing himself? It really killed him, Lian Ruolan scolded and asked, what does she say, master? Brother Ma lowered his head and thought, and said, sister, you know, Yedaiu, he's carrying a train. Deu followed Yekong later. How could Lian Ruolan know? He looked at Brother Ma and asked, what, don't you talk nonsense, where does he have a dragon? Brother Ma looked at Lian Ruolan again, and found that she did not seem to be false, and said, it is a note sent by Huang Jiakai, saying that Yedaiu is carrying a mutant water dragon. At this moment, the dragon is madly blasting the geomagnetic array. I am afraid it won't last long. Hearing here, Lian Ruolan bit her red lips and smiled happily, cursing, this little thief, there must be any adventures, now the dragons are carrying them. Lian Ruolan smiled as if the blooming spring flowers bloomed, and Master Ma's eyes felt dizzy. But then he smiled bitterly again, sister, don't be happy for him, I see, precisely because of this dragon, Uncle Qingyi is afraid. Brother Ma did not continue to say anything, after all, this was his guess, and the ancestor of Qingyi didn't say anything if he said the guess, it was the teacher Yi. Although Brother Ma didn't say it directly, the fool understood it. The Kangnan continent is the strongest, Killing and winning treasure is a normal thing that can't be normal anymore. A small repair like Yekong takes a dragon, that is, he takes a bomb with him. It is possible at any time, and there are high-level monks. If you want to kill him to win the dragon, it is normal for the ancestors of King Yu to be tempted. No, I want to talk to Master Lian Rulan thought, and ran out of thought. Brother Ma only smiled with a bowed head. I'm afraid I will be punished this time. That's it. In the private treasure trove of Lian Fanchen, the ancestral ancestor of King Lu finally found a bottle of elixir, opened it to smell, and a smelly medicine power spread out. This is exactly the ancestral ancestor of Qing Yuan who intends to use to deal with the water dragon items, high-end spirit beast Dan. This spirit beast is for the spirit beast, which can increase the speed of the spirit beast's elixir. Spirit beasts are just like humans. They are looking forward to the realm of ascension and transformation into human beings. Even spirit beasts that do not have spiritual wisdom have this instinctive desire. So the general spirit beast, as long as you take it, you will increase the spirit beast's favor to the master. Even if the spirit beast does not tame, but over time, the spirit beast becomes dependent and longing for this elixir, and will slowly obey the master. As for the dragon and beast, the general spirit beast can't solve the problem. Only this high-level spirit beast can barely interest the dragon. In addition, this spirit beast has another effect. After the spirit beast eats, it will inadvertently fall in love and eagerly enter the cultivation state. This is also the best time for monks to capture the spirit beast. Hey, I'm going to bring a dragon back to Linjiao Mountain this time. King Yi's ancestor was holding this bottle of elixir, full of joy. At this moment, I heard the voice of Bai Yanfen from outside. Sister Rulan, haven't you thought about cliff retreat? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 224. 3. Rulan. Hearing that Lian Rulan was here, the old ancestor of Qing Yuan immediately understood what the girl was doing, and was annoyed in her heart. She put the spirit beast Dan into the storage bracelet, then came out with a calm face. Rulan, why don't you think about it? Why do you come here again? The Kingzu ancestor sat down with a hum. Master, do you want to go to Andu? Lian Rulan posted it, coquettishly said, Yekong's kid is to love his family. The dog emperor killed his family. Of course he wants revenge. Master, you don't go. It is good to practice Rulan and Jiao on weekdays, but not today. King Yi's ancestor rolled his eyes and said, what's the matter? Which immortal practitioner in the Kangnan continent did not know that our home was our elixir cover? If our home was destroyed, how can we stand on Elixir Mountain in the future? The family relied on our Elixir Mountain to do something wrong. The dog emperor was even a jerk. Some time ago, I also served as his guard. I think this emperor is very poor. He has no ability to govern the country himself, and he doubts this suspicion all day. That one. Refining Rulan's retort made Qingye very upset, and said, the Emperor Angguo's candidate can't talk about you. Don't let that kill. Lian Rulan knew that preventing Master from going to Andu was unlikely. Then he stepped back and said, Master, can you not kill Yekong? After all, the life of the disciples was saved by him. Don't kill him, of course. Haha. The old ancestor of King Yu thought he was going to have a dragon, and couldn't help but smile. Of course, Lian Rulan knew what Master was happy with, and she begged again, Master, then you can't and shouldn't grab his stuff. Green ancestor sneered, don't kill him, don't rob him of anything. Are you going to travel to Andu as a teacher? At this time, Bai Yanfen also came up and said, yeah, sister, we are going to do business. Huang Jiakai is still waiting for our rescue. You shouldn't make trouble here. His words angered Lian Rulan. Lian Rulan had no cold at all on his back, and immediately pointed at the door and shouted, "Brother Bai. This is a matter between our teachers and disciples, so you don't need to intervene. Now please get out." Although Lian Ruolan was not very reasonable in the past, she never scolded anyone. Today, she politely used roll to curse Bai Yanfan's face red and white. Presumptuous. Ruolan, how do you talk to your brother? For an outsider, such abusive brother, regardless of size and respect. Don't bring the bad habits of outsiders to the Elixir Mountain, the old ancestor of King Yu also shouted in the past. The apprentices were very well behaved in the past. How come this time when they come back from this experience? An outsider, Lian Ruolan smiled slightly, and Sakura's lips lightened. Yekong is not an outsider. I have already vowed to sacrifice blood, and he is willing to be a slave or a servant if he doesn't marry. When Lian Ruolan said this, several people in the room were stupid. I saw that Lian Ruolan was interesting to Yekong, but no one could have imagined that they had come to this step. The ancestor of King Yi was sober from the shock, and said to Bai Yanfan and Ma Xiaoyi, "Go out first, take care of your mouth. And Ma Xiaoyi, you go directly to the cliff to find a room for 3 years." Ma Xiaoyi sighed. Ching Ching knew that he had ventilated the letter, so think about it. Alas, why did Sister Ruolan vomit the essence of blood? It seemed to me that there was no chance. Unlike Ma Xiaoyi's frustration, Bai Yanfan was angry. Damn, how can I not compare to that little monk? I love you so hard for so many years, you didn't even give a smile. After going out and practicing for a year, I hooked up with a little white face, really a mean woman, and vowed the essence of blood. Bai Yanfan's psychology began to distort, because love became hatred. The more I wanted to get more angry, I got out of Dongfu, and I got an idea. Go to Master Hongyi that cheated Jing Guanjai, and then go and kill that little white face first. Bai Yanfan made up his mind and headed to the old man's cave. When the room was quiet, the ancestor of the Qing dynasty quickly ordered Lian Ruolan to extend his wrist and put his fingers together, and indeed made a vow of blood. Say, isn't that Yekong pushing you? Ching Ching's ancestor let go, his brows were covered with black lines. No one forced me, I volunteered. Stupid, Ching Ching's ancestor reprimanded, even if they are dual monks, few will make such vicious vows. You know, your life is between his thoughts. He is always anywhere can make you die. He won't, I believe him, so I voluntarily made an oath. Lian Ruolan and Qing Yan gambled. You. The old ancestor of Qing Yuan couldn't speak out of this apprentice's anger, and after a while he scolded, "This vow will only be issued if one side is forced to helplessness, life and death, and forgive each other. Master, I have lived for hundreds of years, and I have never heard of anyone voluntarily giving a vow of blood and blood. The whole Kangnan continent, I have never seen anyone stupid than you. Master, I beg you. Yekong is really not an ordinary person. He is warm and kind, he treats others with sincerity and loves justice, and he also has a powerful spell-making technique you just believe in the eyes of the pupils. Although we have tens of thousands of male spiritual practitioners, no one can match him." Yeah, the old ancestor of Kinja could not help but sighed. You have such a high appraisal of this young monk, isn't monk Fanshan inferior to him? Lian Ruolan knew that she had said something wrong, and bowed her head. The younger monk is talking about our young monks. How dare they compare to the teacher? Oh, so, then you can go to Andu with us. The old ancestor of Qing Yuan had to compromise. After all, the apprentice's life was held in Yekong's hand. Others, she doesn't care. Lian Ruolan can't. She raised Lian Ruolan as a daughter, how can she watch Lian Ruolan die? Seeing Qing Qing's ancestors calm down, Lian Ruolan simply took another spell and said to the Qing ancestors, "Master, the child is not bragging at all. This is a spell made by him. You see, we have a potion. Who can make it? Our elixir mountain is focused on refining medicine, But it is not a charm. The green ancestor took the spell, there was no surprise in his heart. After all, there is nothing remarkable about the charm. Yun Yunzong has so many charm masters. No, you have to look at the face of Ling Yaoshan. This rune is also very strange. What is this rune? Generally there are notes on the spells, what firebird mantras, golden light runes, etc. are written, but this word has nothing. What's even more strange to the ancestors of Qingyu is that on the pattern of this amulet, there are many layers of the same pattern painted on it. The ancestors of Qingyu have lived for hundreds of years and have never seen such a strange charm. This is a success symbol he painted. Ah! But really, the old ancestor of Qingyu felt a little trembling in his speech. This success symbol may not be important to others, but for Ling Yaoshan, the importance can be imagined. Every day, the elixir that the mountain medicine refining is bad can't be counted. If the success rate is more than 10%, how much is the elixir? The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 225. 224 Reinforcements will arrive. The ancestor of the Qing dynasty went to look at the pattern again, only to find out that the roll of that layer of scripture just blocked the key pattern below. What's the use of this? The old ancestor of Qingyu snorted, and then scratched with sharp fingernails. Who knew that just after a few scratches, the rune paper suddenly turned into a flame, and a successful rune was burned. Clean. The first ancestor of Qingyu encountered this kind of thing and burned it as soon as she scraped it. She looked at Lian Rulan in doubt, probably wondering whether the successful sign was true or false. Lian Rulan laughed, "Master, this is also researched by Ye Kong. He said that this is the intellectual property protection film, which is to prevent others from sneaking into his method of making symbols." The ancestor of Qingyu then realized that he dared to use this as a means of keeping secrets, and could not help but nodded. This kid has some means, but it's just too much mouthful from this name. What intellectual property is really inexplicable? The saying that the ancestor of King Ai was refining Rulan had new ideas in his heart. Although she really wanted to play a dragon, her apprentice's life was more important. Besides, there was the successful sign. Qing's ancestor couldn't help but regret it. When the boy came to the door, why didn't he leave him? But it's not too late now, the boy is repairing one, and Ling Zhen is so bad that Ling Yaoshan won't accept him. Which other school will accept him? Not to mention that there is a Lian Rulan attracting him. The old ancestor of Qingyu decided, and said to Lian Rulan, "Well, give him a chance as a teacher, and you go with me." Qingyan came out with Lian Rulan, and found that Bai Yanfan had already left, so they also drove in the direction of the capital of Endu. The city of Endu is in chaos at this moment. All the people are looking at the scene in surprise. The emperor of a country has been deceived into such a situation, which has never happened in the entire Kangnan continent. This Ye family's eighth is too much. Doesn't he know the truth of the father and son? Even if he is a fairy, he is also my people, a young Confucian student said indignantly. He just finished talking, and immediately a few people from the market came up and kicked him. "You scholars, read stupid." This kind of faint king died early. A businessman next to him also said, "Yeah, I've been to Nandu city recently. Everyone there admires Master 8 very much, saying that he is a rare good man." The Confucian took a few kicks, and he didn't wake up. He screamed, "Even if he is reasonable, this method is too cruel, killing one of the queen and the queen without leaving, and hanging it on the flagpole to show the public, this is too bloody." The businessman sighed, "This is the style of Master Ye Ba. Many people call him God of Plague in the southern capital. You can only blame us for your majesty, to provoke plague, and find your own way." At this moment, Rushan really realized what it was to regret it. If he could do it again, he would not provoke this lunatic by borrowing his courage. But it was too late to regret it. He saw his wife, and children hanging on high flagpoles after being killed one by one. He was going crazy. An emperor was actually mixed with this. Go out and die with Yekong. Of course, this is just an idea. He rushed out, but he was only trying to die for himself. Now he wants to live, and the only chance is to rescue the Elixir Mountain. In Russian. Did you see that all your princes are here? Haha, you are really a lonely man. Now, let me send you the culprit to Huangquan Road. Yekong laughed happily, signaled Dao to speed up smashing. In the formation method, Huang Jiakai is also extremely anxious. Although the defense is amazing, can it be smashed by the dragon? He couldn't help but say, why hasn't the elder Shimin arrived yet? Why are you so embarrassed? While talking, the old monk thought, here it is. It wasn't Ching them who arrived, they had been out for a while, and all they had was a note. Huang Jiakai took the note and explored it with spirit. Then he said with a sigh of relief, it is the ancestor of the Qing dynasty who has already set off and will be here in a little while. Yekong also saw the note outside, but the thing flew too fast. If he wanted to intercept the note, he wouldn't be able to do it without yuanying. But even if he didn't look at the note, Yekong knew that it must be that the reinforcements had already set off. Let the people here hold on, and they would be there immediately. Who will be here? Yekong was reluctant to be an acquaintance, it was better not to know him. It didn't matter if he played. However, no matter who came, Yekong believes that he must be cultivated to be not low, at least the ancestor of the Dan period. The ancestor of the previous Dan period, Lu Zhen, let Yekong suffer a lot. He didn't even have a chance to fight back. It was very difficult to even escape. Of course, Yekong's aura can deal with Jadan's ancestors, but he doesn't want to use it until the end. How many innocent people will it kill if this stuff is used? Moreover, Yekong was reluctant to turn his face completely with Linjiao Mountain. After all, there was a refining Rulan sandwiched in the middle. He and Ling Yaoshan have no resentment and no need to be so stiff. If Ling Yaoshan didn't step in and killed in Rushan by him, he would be very grateful. But is it so? Obviously impossible. All the immediate family members of Xianxia had been killed. Yekong took this time to study his previous thoughts. He hopes to find a spell that can be cast into a magic weapon like a spirit to increase the power of the magic weapon. However, this idea is too wild and cannot be used for actual combat in the short term, but because of this idea, Yekong has a new idea of innovation. In the corner of the imperial city, inside the bell tower, a handsome-looking young man is shaking a folding fan, watching the movement outside through the window lattice. His movements were freehand, but his eyes were full of resentment. He was Bai Yanfen who arrived first, and although he borrowed the ancient treasure Jingguanjiao from the ancestor of the red cricket, he still did not dare to play directly. Yekong dealt well, but the dragon was not so good. Bai Yanfen decided to use a sneak attack, and while the boy was not careful, he made a sudden attack and killed him in one fell swoop. Although the monk in the late construction period attacked the minor repairs during the refining period, it was a shame, but Bai Yanfen didn't have this awareness. He just wanted to kill Yekong, and he could do anything. Well, what does this kid seem to be doing? Is there a chance? As soon as Bai Yanfen's pupils shrank, she went to touch the storage bracelet in her sleeve. One of the three ancient treasures of Jingguanjiao, Gobeo, and Linjiaoshan is amazing. When this treasure is issued, a golden bud of the moon bud type will be split. When encountering the Buddha, and the Immortal, even the top quality defense weapon is hard to hit. If it is used for sneak attack, it is the best. Looking at Yekong on the flying carpet in the distance using a small sword to sharpen the wood, Bai Yanfen couldn't help but wanted to give him a shot from afar. But Bai Yanfen finally resisted, and the distance was a little far away. He couldn't guarantee the success of the sneak attack, let alone a dragon was in front of him. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 226. 225 Soul Request. Bai Yanfen never worried about waiting. He was a very patient person and he decided to wait for a more suitable time. He continued to monitor Yekong, and his actions made him curious. I saw Yekong cut a piece of wood into a wooden sword, and then covered the wooden sword with dense magic charms, looking very strange. The magic charms were all affixed to the wooden swords. Yekong was not idle. Instead, he took out the rune paper pens on the spot, and wrote and drew on the wooden swords with the pens. When Yekong finishes his work, the reinforcements at Linjiao Mountain have arrived. He is really afraid of what is coming, and it is Xianxia and Lianrulan. Yekong. Don't be pretentious, don't stop anymore, King Yi's ancestor scolded and stood firmly in the clouds. Stop first. Dao Yekong drove up on the flying carpet, nodded slightly to Lianrulan, and gave a salute to King Yu, saying, I've met the ancestor of King Yu. Qingyan said with his head, Yekong, what are you doing? Why? Don't you have eyes? Yekong said indifferently, and Rushan killed my family, and I also killed his family, thank you, Mr. Xie, I can deal with it myself without any help. This kid is so embarrassed to say, are you here to help you? Qingye's ancestor said with a smile, Yekong, I know everything about you and Ruolan. Yekong knew what she was going to say, and waved her hand to interrupt, Green ancestor, at this moment Yema is revenge on killing his father and genocide. Other matters will be discussed later. The Kingzu ancestor was greeted by him, and his heart was a little displeased, but he still suppressed his temper and said, Yekong, I know you must be very sad and angry at this moment. This kind of thing is not good for anyone, but the dead have gone and live people still have to live. No matter what you do, the dead can't be resurrected. You have to think about the living. Yekong sneered coldly, what do you mean, Kinju? Okay, I like straightforward people, said the old ancestor of Qingying with a smile. Xiao, it's difficult to mix a meditation. Not only is there no guarantee of elixir and magic instruments, but also the cultivation methods and experiences are not available, even it's so hard to find a spiritually rich cultivation place. Do you always want to join the Elixir Mountain? Now I can accept you as a personal disciple, even if I am an ordinary Elixir Mountain disciple, from now on, you and Rulan, I do ask, how about that? Yekong smiled ironically and asked, this kind of good thing is conditional, right? Of course, the condition is to let go of an Rushan. Impossible, Yekong refused without thinking. What conditions do you have to mention? Yekong laughed and said, Green ancestor, I respect you because you are the master of Rulan, but I didn't expect you to say such boring words. I would like to ask you, kill the father and destroy the door, is hate used to bargain? Qing's ancestor was a little annoyed, and said angrily, what about you? My only requirement is to kill an Rushan. Qing's ancestors had done all the good things, and her face was very bad. She stared at Yekong, saying, young people always like impulse. This is good, but if you don't listen to people's advice, impulsive at the end, that's arrogance. Don't hang on anymore, listen to me and persuade, that's all for now. Yekong looked at her without fear and responded word by word, what if I say no? The ancestor of Qingying was unable to restrain himself this time. Taiking said with a face, young man, I have been young, and I can understand your urge. But you have never been old, you do know. When you are old, I will regret it. Yekong was also irritated, and tit for tat, yeah, you were young, but I have never been old, but ancestor, you have forgotten a bit. I am young now, and I can grow old in the future. And you are old now, but you can never be younger. Presumptuous. Arrogant. You need to understand that you are talking to a monk who is fully successful in Dandan, the ancestor of Qingyuan finally couldn't help yelling. Seeing master and her lover froze, Lian Rulan hurried up and persuaded, Yekong, how can you talk to my master like this? Even if you are reasonable, you have to say it well. Then she turned her head back. He persuaded the old ancestor of the Qing dynasty, Master, this is what he said. Don't be angry, isn't it a broken emperor? It's not worth the trouble for him. Although in Rushan's role on Ling Yaoshan is not that important, even if you change the emperor, it is okay to say that. However, if you say that, the key famous factions all need to be face-saving. And gave up the Emperor Angguo, to be laughed to death by other martial arts. Therefore, the ancestor of Qingying felt that this face could not be lost, so she said to Lian Rulan, you advise him, I'll go and see. Little thief. Lian Rulan looked at Yekong and didn't know what to say. Would he persuade Yekong to give up revenge? She knows this is impossible. Yekong's personality is very clear. But what should I say? Do you agree with Yekong's revenge? That angered master. Yekong's fate can be imagined. The complete success of Dandan is almost the ancestor of the infant. It really started the fire, even if Yekong brought a dragon. Green ancestors are not as easy to deal with as those monks who are at the Bone Gate. Looking at the embarrassment of refining Rulan, Yekong didn't know what to say. He didn't want to make Rulan embarrassing, but he had to report such a great hatred. Cannot fail to report. They looked at each other but didn't know what to say. Lian Rulan frowned at the hair in her forehead, shook her head and smiled, and said, have you reached the 6th floor of gas refining? Congratulations. Yekong nodded, thank you. Then there was a speechlessness. There was a pain in Lian Rulan's heart. The two people who had never talked in the past did not know what to say. She bit her red lips and looked at Yekong firmly, and said, I'll hold master in a while, then you will kill An Rushan by chance. There was a touch of emotion in Yekong. He shook his head, this matter has nothing to do with you, you just have to look at it. If you really offend your master, how can you stay in Ling Yaoshan in the future? While the two were talking, the green ancestor had flew out, followed by two monks and An Rushan behind her. Yekong, let me know the situation. Qing's ancestor thought about it, and decided to give up the last step, and said, An Rushan, he listened to his word, and now he also regrets it, so he will give it to him. The Ye family vindicated and punished the traitor. The ancestor of King Yi still sheltered in peace. Yekong interrupted immediately after hearing, it is not a rumor at all, it is his idea. He is the culprit. King Yi's ancestors revealed that his cards were useless, and he was annoyed immediately, what else do you do? His family has been killed by you. He has been punished. And he regrets it? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 227. 226 Shadowless Pin Array. Yekong cried out loudly, if someone else spares it, he can't. Now he regrets it? It's useless. The spit of saliva can be licked back, and the pulled back can be stuffed into the anus. Vulgar, Qing's ancestor scolded, and no one dared to talk to her like this. She sneered, then you are going to kill An Rushan in front of me. Yes. You need to think about the consequences. Either he died or I died. He speaking of this, the old ancestor of King Yu laughed, do you think you can defeat me by practicing the 6th tier gas refining? Yekong Leng hummed, how do you know if you haven't tried it? Ha ha. Qing's ancestor laughed, you are arrogant. The Qing ancestor told Huang Jiakai and the old monk to take An Rushan to the distance, and then she cleared her mouth and spit out her magic weapon with no shadow. This shadowless needle is very small, embroidery needles are ordinary, and you can't see it without paying attention, but Yekong doesn't know, but Lian Rulan knows it very well, and hurries the ancestor of the green peasant and pleads, Master, You can spare Yekong, come on. Go away. Master, don't. Lien Ruolan hugged the ancestor of King Hu and let go. Get off. Otherwise I'll kill you first. The old ancestor of Qing Yuan has already moved really hot at this moment. Then you kill the disciples first. Lien Ruolan refused to let it go. You, well, good. There was a flash of murder in the eyes of the old ancestor, and she was already extremely angry. Ruolan, you walk away, my business has nothing to do with you. Yekong did not want to make Ruolan difficult, nor did she want to involve her. Yekong knows that today, he has completely offended Qing's ancestors, and also completely offended Ling Yaoshan. Ruolan, this is your trace of essence and blood, I will give it back to you now, so you don't have to make peace again. Yekong finished, pinching his forehead with his fingertips, taking out the essence and blood, and blasting it against Lien Ruolan. A faint red light shot towards Lien Ruolan. Yekong, Lien Ruolan did not expect Yekong to do such a move, and her heart was confused. Although she knew Yekong was good for her, she was still in great pain. Bind. While the refining Ruolan went away, the ancestor of the Qing dynasty threw out a thin cord of snow silk and tied the refining Ruolan firmly. Yekong, you also have your righteousness. As long as you let an Rushan pass, I will assume that this has not happened. Let's stop talking nonsense. Come on, Yekong set a finger to his ancestor, and shouted, Deu, come on. Ang, as soon as Deu uttered a dragon yin, Long Wei showed her strength. She had felt the strength of the other party. As a newly opened wise water dragon, she clearly felt that the ancestor of King Yi was similar to her. In fact, from the perspective of cultivation, Deu is slightly higher than Qingying. However, from the general experience, Xiu often cannot compete with monks in the same realm. After all, Xiu is not as scheming as human beings, and human beings have all kinds of magical instruments, which is not possessed by Xiu. Therefore, Deu did not have any advantage over the green barley. However, Yekantao didn't mean to kill the old ancestor of King Yu. His purpose was very clear, that was to make Deu entangled with King Yu, and he had a chance to kill the culprit and Rushan in one fell swoop. Deu also knew Yekong's thoughts, so when he came out, he didn't keep his hands. He immediately grew up to dozens of feet, raised his head and screamed, Ang. The dragon was powerful, and the sound was trembling. The people of Andu had all come out, kneeling down the street, and kept hoeing. With the jade of the dragon, the water and aura in the sky gathered frantically, and the black ink like dark clouds were soon densely crowded above the place where the ancestor of the King Yi stood. The green electricity cracks. For the first time, Deu used the housekeeping skills of the Shuilong tribe to deal with the fake baby monk, the old ancestor of the Qing dynasty. Click, a loud noise and a blue lightning quasi landed from the dark clouds, hitting the ancestral ancestor. Sure enough, it is a serious mutant dragon. Seeing De Yu Zhanshi's housekeeping skills, the ancestors of King Yu did not panic and sacrificed a jade-colored ancient tripod. Nothingness, Lien Ruolan quickly hurried to remind her. As a disciple of Ling Yaoshan, she knew very well that this Ling Yaoshan's first treasure was powerful. Ling Yaoshan has been passed down for tens of thousands of years. As the largest school in Kangnan, its first treasure is extremely powerful. I saw a green electricity pass over, and Void Ding immediately opened up the electricity supply. The green electricity was soon sucked in. Looking from the electricity supply, I saw that the green electricity had become a green flame burning in flames. Unfortunately, it's just a green TV, a water dragon, but if you follow me, my ancestor, I promise to make you successful in 10 years, and in 50 years, let you release the top-level purple power. How about this? This green ancestor is indeed shameless. Dig leaves in front of the wall. However, Yekong was not worried. Deu was wise, and she and Yekong experienced the test of life and death in the 5 elements. The friendship between them could not be destroyed by others. Dao responded to the ancestor of Qingying with a long dragon chant, Ang. With the sound of long yin, in the large dark clouds above the ancestral ancestors, the blue lights flashed streakily, and a series of cyan lightning bolted towards the ancestral ancestors. From all directions, it was invincible green snake flurry. Hundreds of lightnings appeared this time, and they really beat the green ancestors' hands, and it was even more overwhelming. Longjio of Dao even called out a lot of poultry monsters in Andu city that were hundreds of miles away. They are all very low, but they are large in number, covering the sky and surrounding the green ancestors. Dao, hold on, Yekong took advantage of this time to kill An Rushan with his sword. Seeing Yekong's hateful eyes come over, An Rushan knew that it was not good, and looked indifferent. Two monks, go. Huang Jiakai also saw Yekong's thoughts. With An Rushan, he wanted to leave with a flying sword. Want to leave? Not so easy, Yekong urged the flying carpet to rush over. But at this time, I heard Lianrulan shouted, beware of the shadowless needle. Being reminded by this, Yekong suddenly stared at him, and suddenly remembered this magic weapon that was spit out from the ancestor of Qing Cheng. This shadowless needle is so small that it is negligible and very suitable for sneak attacks. Yekong had just paused, his mind had moved, and he stiffened in midair. Later, I saw that a large area in front of it drizzled drastically. Looking closely, those who shone with 7 colors of light in the sun turned out to be tens of thousands of shadowless needles. Don't look at this shadowless needle as thin as an ox hair and turned into tens of thousands, but the power is still amazing. Within the area covered by the shadowless needles like raindrops, none of the flowers and trees, palaces, pavilions, and bridges were spared. They were all shot into powder. This shadowless needle shot for a round, and half of the imperial city became a ruin. Yekong took a sip of air conditioning. The shadowless needle of this young ancestor was fierce, and her mind was fierce. She also wanted to kill An Rushan when she was not ready. Not only would the young ancestors have long guessed it, but also secretly laid a shadowless needle within the range that she passed. If it was not reminded by Lianrulan, she would have to die serious injury. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 228. 2 or 7 people are not as good as demon. Seeing that Yekong wasn't in an ambush, the old ancestor of King Yi was very annoyed. The girl was really extroverted. She raised this girl for 18 years for her to eat and drink, and taught her to cultivate, but finally helped outsiders. The ancestor of the Qingyuan fired, and he did not show mercy, and the jade hand sighed, pointing at the void, and said, there is a cliff in the desert, there is no edge in the sky, receive. The emptiness tripod suddenly opened, and a powerful cyclone formed in the tripod. Those low-level spirit bird monsters were sucked in, and even the blue lightning shot from all directions was attracted by the cyclone. In the end, it is the first treasure of the magic medicine mountain, and it is very powerful. The tripod is like a black hole, and the demon bird covering the sky is closed in a blink of an eye. As soon as the sky brightens, then, the void suddenly burst from it, and a group of dark rolled out, scorching into the artificial lake in the imperial garden, and making a noise. In a blink of an eye, thousands of monster birds turned out to be all died of nothingness. Huh. Is it true that my complete Dandan period is complete? King Yi's ancestor regained nothingness. This not finding period is truly remarkable, and this green ancestor is an elixir of real power. The magic weapon is a top-level item. Her strength is far beyond that of a regular monk-bound monk. The baby ancestor is not her opponent either. My son, it seems I must spit out Dragon Ball, Dao said. Before Xiu 11's transformation, the most powerful trick is to spit out Neden, which can assist in the attack and can also be used as a magic weapon. Just like the Huolin in the 5 elements front, once Huodan came out, his power immediately increased several times. Spitting out Neden's attack has no effect on the demon Xiu, just like the monk spit out his magic weapon. However, if you spit out Neden against a powerful character, it is very dangerous. The monk's destiny magic weapon is damaged and will be seriously injured, but it will not die. After recuperating for a while, refining a destiny magic weapon is. But the demon repair is different. Their destiny magic weapon is Nei Dan. Nei Dan is the place where all their cultivation is stored. If it is destroyed, this demon cultivation will have no value for survival. The ancestor of the green urn is not only high, but the magic weapon is also extremely powerful. Yekong was afraid that Dao would spit out Neden and be injured by the green urn, so he hesitated. While he was hesitating, the old ancestor of the Qing dynasty entrusted Ding with one hand. Haha laughed, "What? You want to use the last trick, Neden's refining? Ha ha ha." Dao was already sane, she could understand the words of King Yu, and the docile Dao was also annoyed. Her huge body hovered, and when she lifted the faucet, she wanted to spit out Neden. But at this moment, she suddenly stopped, as if thinking about something. Then, she saw the dragon's nose moved, and then, like a puppy, she sniffed and sniffed. "Dao, what are you doing?" Yekong wondered. Dao didn't answer, she was still sniffing hard, trying to find the source of the aroma, but it was really fragrant. This kind of aroma has an irresistible attraction to the spirit beast. "Don't look for it, look here," said the old ancestor Xiao Ying, "is the high-end spirit beast Dan, isn't it very fragrant?" "Haha, most spirit beasts can't eat this quality of spirit beast." The old ancestor said, with a flick of his finger. The white spirit beast Dan draws a straight line in mid-air, the big jade head is tilted up, catches the spirit beast Dan, eats it, closes his eyes, as if he enjoys his life quickly. "What did you give her?" Yekong growled. "Don't worry, the spirit beast is only good for her. The spirit beast practice is the same as human beings. There is no difference between elixir and no elixir. You should also experience the pain without elixir practice." "What do you want to do?" Yekong thanked her for not having any thoughts. "Will this old woman suddenly treat herself well?" "Absolutely impossible." The Kingzu ancestor laughed again, "But you are not an ordinary spirit beast. She is a kind of mutant beast. Therefore, the ordinary spirit beast has no effect on her. Only the high-level spirit beast is effective, and this kind of high-level spirit beast Dan, only in our Kangnan mountain can we have it." After the ancestor Qing proudly finished, he said to Yekong again, "Considering the face of Ling Yaoshan, I will not let you kill An Rushan, but if you are willing to give me this water dragon, I will help you settle this. This is my last bottom line and your last chance." An old ancestor of the Qing dynasty made a move, and Huang Jiakai brought An Rushan back again. "Master, how can you do that?" "I'm so disappointed," Lian Ruolan shouted. "Shut up. If I didn't see that he just returned your essence and blood quickly, otherwise he would have killed someone and robbed the dragon." Qingye yelled at Ruolan and said to Yekong again, "I like a young man with affection, righteousness and filial piety man, so I fulfill you. You can take revenge, on the condition that you surrender your beast pet. Isn't it too much?" "Aunt Qingxian, don't wow," and Rushan shouted in panic. He didn't expect how easy he would be betrayed. He would not be as good as a dragon? But then again, it really doesn't compare. Ning Qing and Nian Li were as unreasonable as a mountain, tilted their heads, smiled very charmingly, and urged, "Yekong, how is it?" Yekong also smiled, but the answer was firm, "Impossible. Absolutely impossible." "Che, I thought you were more loyal and filial." Qing Yan sneered sarcastically, saying, "You do nt want to be pets, any fate of killing your father will be reported. It's a joke. The fate of killing your father is not enough. A monster. No, you are wrong, this sentence should be that I said you, the face of Ling Yaoshan is not worth a monster, the face of Ling Yaoshan is a joke." "You, the old ancestor of Qinja roared, why don't you agree with the exchange?" Yekong smiled faintly. With a better practice location, I will not force Dao for my own sake. I should have let her go to a better place, let her transform into shape faster, or even soar, but you won't give her to you, because no matter how good you are with her, you just treat her as a beast pet, a demon beast, or a beast. Isn't it right? The ancestors of Qingyuan didn't think there was anything wrong. The beast repair and the demon repair were originally a beast, even if it was a modified demon repair. From the perspective of a human monk, it was just like a beast. Just humanoid? No. Green ancestor, although you have lived for hundreds of years, but I still have to say, you are wrong, Yekong said rudely. I have seen a tree demon once, he is just as loving. Kang in the southern mainland, the hearts of the monks are cold, and even the closest relatives are not spared. I can say that most monks are not as good as demons. Although Dao is a spirit beast, I treat her like a friend. Even in danger, I can desperately save her. If you can do it with the ancestors of Qingying, what if I let Dao follow you? The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 229. The Power of the 22 Runes. Yekong's sincere words, but in exchange for a green ancestor's near, she did not believe that Yekong would regard a spirit beast as a friend, let alone Yekong would be desperate for the spirit beast. Even if this is the case, the ancestors of King Ii will feel that 80% of this person has a problem in his mind. It's better to sing than to sing. Anyone who can't prove anything can talk about it. In fact, there are some things that do not need to be proven at all. Others don't know that Dao knows clearly. In the 5 elements formation, Yekong took a lot of risks and asked Chi Error to rescue her. My son. Dao's voice sounded in Yekong's ears, and her eyes were filled with tears. My son, just now, I was just tempted by the high-level spirit beast Dan. Dao wanted to explain what happened just now. Yekong interrupted her. I know, I believe in you. If I really meet a better host than me, I won't stop you. The suggestion of the ancestor of Qingyuan, Yekong ignored. So she once seduced Dao. Water dragon, are you called Dao? Oh, look, I have a bottle full of high-end spirit beast, and I've arrived at the mountain of elixir, as much as you want. Although Dao wouldn't be seduced by her, but her instinct still made her have the impulse to rush. She shouted, son, please send me back to the spirit beast, I don't want to see that thing again. As you wish, Yehalo thought and took Dao back. Ha 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 ha, the old ancestor of the Qing dynasty laughed, took back the spirit beast Dan, looked at Yekong and said, well, what you rely on is not this dragon, now it has returned. I look at how you avenge your Ye family. After King Yi's ancestors finished speaking, he waved to Huangjiakai, send and Rushan back to Lingyashan. Respect the decree of the ancestors and ancestors. Huangjiakai and the old monk saluted the old ancestors of King Yu, and the embarrassed An Rushan, who was so scared, flew away. Hew away, Yekong drove quickly to keep up with the flying carpet. However, the old ancestor of King Yu flashed in front of him at a faster speed and sneered, I'd like to see, how do you pass me and my shadowless stitch array? Yekong didn't talk, and offered a turquoise simple gourd directly. Gubeo, the old ancestor of Qingyuan, was shocked again. She didn't expect that the boy actually took out another Gubeo gourd, a casual repair, and a minor repair during the gas refining period. How could there be so many amazing things? Even the old ancestor of the Qing dynasty was a little bit confused about this kid. But even if you are an ancient treasure, don't even try to kill An Rushan. Water sword. The endless water sword, Yekong, the ancient treasure, didn't have any spells. He could shout whatever he wanted. In fact, Gubeo gourd is more powerful with fire, because it contains Kangbei cold fire, not ordinary fire, but in the end Yekong still uses water spells. There are 2 reasons. One is that void is used to make elixir, which has a strong resistance to fire properties. Another Kangbei cold fire, if this woman saw it, would bring greater trouble to themselves. Watching the continuous water swords fired from the water and fire gourds, the ancestor of Qing Yuan once again drank. There is a cliff in the flood, there is no void in the sky, receive. This time, the water sword was still sucked in by the void cyclone, but the old man's water and fire gourd is not ordinary, and its power is no less than that of void. Soon, the ancestors of the Qing dynasty found out that they were wrong, and they saw that the four legs of the empty tripod were constantly flowing out of the tripod gate, and the more and more flows, at last, the cyclone on the void tripod gradually became weak. Where is there so much water? Qing's ancestor pointed angrily at the void. Open. With a bang, the tripod door opened, just like a waterfall appeared out of thin air. And Yekong's water swords are still shot incessantly, several water swords, chasing Huang Jiakai and others who flew away. But this water sword can't break through the shadowless needle formation. When this shadowless needle is invisible, you can't see where it is, but when something passes, it immediately appears like rain, and the water sword is when the shadowless needle struck, it suddenly burst open. The power was not small, but it could not pass the shadowless needle array. I really despise you, it's a bit of a doorway, but you want to kill and rush in, it's delusional. The old ancestor of King Yu snorted, took a storage bracelet, and took out a pair of white steel rings. If you want to say that this mountain of elixir is really rich, Qingye just digs it out, it is a superb magic weapon. This Vajra snow ring can not only hit people, but it is also a must-have. Yekong, don't let it approach, Lian Ruolin, who was tied to one side, reminded again by speaking. Yeah, Qing Qian's ancestor raised her hand in annoyance and called Lian Ruolin a voicing technique to stop her from interjecting. Yekong, do you really want to kill and rush in? The conditions just now you can also choose. Green ancestor looked at the figure of Huang Jiakai and so on, she said proudly, look, after coming to her, she still cherishes Deu. After all, she can ride a dragon. What a prestige! For a woman, vanity is very strong. Although her ancestor is a few hundred years old, it is not exempt. I don't have to choose. And Rushan is dead. No words. Water sword, Yekong continued to control the fire and water gourd's attack, and then he took out a very special sword. A sword covered with rune paper. In many years later, some people will talk about this sword. This is an unprecedented rune sword in the Kangnan continent. It can be called a pioneering practice in the immortal world. Many people are obsessed with the study of rune swords, the use of runes, and the position of stickers. The rune portrayed, even 1,000 years later, the splendid Fujian gate appeared, and the deity enshrined in the gate was Yekong. Of course that's the last word, the ancestor of the young man at the moment only laughed at this thing. Oh, you are finally poor. Do'n't you even come up with a sword with a charm? Do you think this is useful? Do you think ordinary charms can hurt my fake infant monk? And your sword, there is no aura of fluctuation, don't tell me, it's just a piece of ordinary wood, ha 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 ha, the inferior artifice can't be counted. Yes, this is a very ordinary millennium peach. Yekong lifted the rune sword lightly, and a pair of clear eyes stared at the ancestor of the Qing dynasty, saying one word at a time, the power of the superposition of spells is infinite, so the name of the sword is the power of the spell. Let you see the power of spell stacks. To the reader. Sorry, because Xiaoman also needs to learn the new chapter of Tao Sui Oolong at the same time, so the speed can't come up. Please forgive me, children's shoes. Thank you, teacher Xiaoman. If you are short of books, you can go to Tao Shui. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 230. Kill and Rush and 229. Yekong's fingers kept changing, producing countless handprints, and his mouth continued to spit out esoteric words. Some were words that spurred the spell, and some even the ancestors of the young man could not understand. After Yekong urged the magic rune, the rune sword shot abruptly and swirled, and the spell covered with the body was turning like layers of scales. The rune sword flew faster and faster, and shot straight at the end of the sky like Huangjiakai. The green ancestor did not stop. While she hit the scattered water sword, she watched Fujian away coldly. She didn't believe that this wooden sword, which was not even a magic weapon, could pass her shadowless stitch formation. Even the water sword shot by Gubao can be stopped, let alone this wooden sword? Isn't this wooden sword with no aura fluctuations better than Gubao? What a joke. Karen Rulan didn't think so. She witnessed the miracle of this young man again and again. He has made the impossible possible again and again, breaking the truth that others have already concluded, and Lian Rulan believes that he can still create miracles again. Soon, the Fujian entered the range of the shadowless needle array, and several shadowless needles fell from the sky and pierced the Fujian flying below. Huh! I'm afraid your wooden sword can't even bear a shadowless needle. The old ancestor of Qingyuan smiled sneer, but Lian Rulan looked expectant. Get up, Yekong whispered. I saw a few sprites on the Fujian spontaneously burning without wind, and several layers of golden brilliance immediately appeared outside the sword. The golden brilliance formed an oval shield to protect the Fujian. Jing Guangfu, the old ancestor of Qingyuan, felt that this Jing Guangfu could not stop his magic weapon of shadowless needle. But she underestimated the power of spell stacking. A golden light rune will be penetrated by the shadowless needle. What about 3, 5? Sure enough, those few shadowless needles were blocked by golden light, stagnating. While Fujian took advantage of the gap, he passed through it. Oncoming, several shadowless needles shot again. Oh, with a harsh scream, hundreds of fat flaming firebirds flew out of Fujian. These firebirds were formed by the fire spirit, and they were not afraid of death. They voluntarily rammed into the shadowless needle. Go with. Click, with the thunder, a huge blue light burst through the sky, falling out of thin air, and several shadowless needles were electrocuted and missed. Fujian passed in the shadowless stitch formation, which makes people feel easy and gorgeous. The sword body is surrounded by golden light. From time to time, there are spells spontaneously burning on the sword body, and a flare bursts of fire disappears, and the front and back of the sword are constantly attacked by various spells. Firebird mantra, golden light rune, thunder fire mantra, ice needle mantra. At this moment, it was extremely gorgeous. Various magical charms blossomed like blossoms. These low and medium level charms, which were looked down upon by high-ranking monks, seemed to have a fight, but they were able to resist the fake infancy. Super magic weapon for monks. This is the power of the spell. Fujian quickly passed out of the shadowless stitch array. Its speed was extremely fast. If it were to be compared, it would be like a high-speed cruise missile with golden light. Its sword tail has a faint cyclone formed by the 5-colored brilliance, and the stars are a bit better than the beautiful comet tail of the comet. The power of the Xiaopan charm is so great, King Yi's ancestor stared in surprise. Inferior spells, for high-level monks like her, will have no effect at all, but a large number of spells can be stacked, but can make a normal wood so powerful. With Yekong's constant urging, fewer and fewer charms are attached to the rune sword, and the wooden sword carved from peach wood also reveals the sword body with wood grain. As the rune on the rune sword diminishes, its power begins to lose, its 5-color cyclone at the tail of the sword begins to dim, and its speed decreases. Mr. Huang, that thing is catching up, you fast, and Rushan kept looking back. He thought he was safe already, and the ancestor of the young man must be able to block Yekong. But who knows this boy? He even came up with a super powerful, super fast wooden sword, and caught up effortlessly. Huang Jiakai also secretly complained. He had never seen any magic weapon. It was a wooden sword cut from ordinary peach wood. It was just a toy for children in Kangnan mainland, but this toy can fly, but hateful is flying. The ground is not as fast. I have to pull the Fijian myself, but I still can't get rid of it. Hold on for a while, the old monk kept looking back. He was not looking in fear like in Rushan. He was watching the number of spells on the wooden sword. The spells in the first half of the sword have been used up, and there are only more than 30 spells in the second half. Those spells are also being consumed. Brother Huang, hold on for a while. There aren't many charms on the wooden sword, the old monk reminded him, and then he lowered his flying speed and patted his storage bag at the same time, took out his own magic weapon, and thought to stop the rune sword and consume some spells. Yekong Yuan looked at what he knew. Yekong must not let this last shot go down. He did not hesitate to urge all the remaining spells at the same time, stretched his arms and roared, "Charms, show your strength." Just listening to the sound of thunder, the remaining 30 amulets attached to the rune sword turned into a group of fires at the same time. Instantly, that airspace became a gunpowder, and the fire, ice, lightning, and explosion occurred at the same time, dazzling. Distraught. The old monk was also an old fox-like figure, and when he saw sparks on Fujian, he knew it was bad. Scared and turned away, just like that, he was shot through his thigh by an ice needle. With the launch of all the charms, the Daomu sword gained unprecedented strength. Its cyclone at the tail of the sword became bright and dazzling instantly, and its speed increased several times violently. Such a metaphor far from the string can hardly explain it. The speed is too fast. It's almost, even the five-colored cyclone at the tail of the sword is thrown away by it. This is a speed almost close to the instantaneous movement. And Rushan standing on Huang Jiakai's flying sword felt a strong attack behind him. He heard a sound he had never heard before. It was a sound that seemed to be pierced by a rag, sweet. Staring blankly, he saw that the 2-foot-long wooden sword had completely pierced through his left chest. He is the emperor, he is the emperor. He is dissatisfied, and Rushan did not die. Why did he kill a minister? Which emperor did not kill the minister? How could he end up with a dead family? Alas, the key is to provoke people who shouldn't. Wearing a robe, and Rushan planted his head toward the ground, apparently dead on the spot. However, Yekong has always shown no mercy towards his enemies. He did not even give Rushan the opportunity to reincarnate and reborn, and then swept the soul to capture the soul of Rushan. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 231. 2 or 3-0 Success. When Yekong did these things, the ancestor of the Qing dynasty was already stunned. She couldn't believe that these lower quality spells would have such power. Imagine if the wooden sword was bigger, if the sword was affixed with medium quality or high grade magic charm. I am a monk who is a great success. I am afraid he is not his opponent. Thank you, the old ancestor Qing, for helping Yema to revenge and resentment. Yekong was revengeful, with a loose heart, and sent a smile to Lianrulan, and quickly put on an earthen charm. The Qingzu ancestor came to his senses and angered, "You away. You killed Rushan in front of me." From then on, the face of Ling Yaoshan swept the ground. "How can I let you leave?" Yekong ignored her at all and uttered in his mouth. A flash of light flashed on the earthen rune, and his figure disappeared instantly. The ancestor of Qingying was really angry now. This time, not only the face of Lin Yaoshan was swept away, but also the ancestor of her ancestor of Qingying was completely gone. Others would say that her old ancestor, who was full of dandan, was actually maybe a little monk on the 6th floor of gas refining. "You mustn't let him run away," the old ancestor of Root Green roared loudly, her high drum chest wrapped in palace dress irritatingly undulating. At the moment, she wanted to chase Yekong and kill her. As the ancestor of the dandan period, she could release the consciousness, and soon locked Yekong, dozens of miles away. However, the words of Huang Jiakai and others who came back later reminded her, "Master, the country cannot be without a king. To prevent greater turmoil in the country, choose an emperor." The green ancestor snorted angrily, and then went to see Yekong, and found that the boy had been riding a water dragon to speed up and escape. The dragon was flying too fast, and she knew that it was not easy for her to catch up at the moment, so she had to give up temporarily. "Go back to Lingyaoshan first. I have to discuss it with Fanchen." Ching Ching's ancestor released the restriction of Lianrulan and said coldly, "Dead girl with arms out, don't think he escaped. I will go back this time to issue bounty hunting order. See where he flees." When the ancestors of King Yi and his team left, Bai Yanfen also came out of the arrow tower at the corner of the city wall, and sneered, "Sure enough, there seems to be only a sneak attack as the most secure way." Outside the city of Andu, dozens of miles away, the official way. A big car was crunching, the afternoon sun was very hot, and the old man who rushed was unable to shake his whip, and the horse pulling the car was walking slowly with white foam. "Master Basher, at this speed, when will you be able to get to Andu?" The curtain of the car lifted, and a red girl face appeared. This woman is 18 years old and not too old to look at her face, but she has a charming little lady's style. Her eyes are full of autumn water, her eyes are slender and curved, especially the couple wrapped in clothes the real mountain peak. Even the old guy liked the old style, couldn't help peeping at it. "It's so beautiful, look at it a little bit, and you can die early." Although the old style thinks this way, I dare not let the other party see it, because the youngest of the three women can carry a sword. "It will take 3 days to go to Andu at this speed," the old man replied. "Can't you hurry up?" the plump girl asked again. The old man sighed, "Little sister, this is a carriage, not an 800-mile rush. This is already the fastest. Don't worry about the 3 of you, so it is not slow at all times, day and night." The girl shouted, shrunk her head in, and said to a middle-aged woman with a veil covering her face, "Aunt Chen, don't worry, you will be in Andu within 2 days." The 3 women sitting in this car were Chen Juniang and others who Yekong was struggling to find. They were hot and beautiful, and naturally they were pretty girls. The 3 of them did not go well. By the invisibility, the 3 people avoided the scourge of the door, and after leaving Nandu city, they followed the refugee army to Huangzhou. At that time, Chen Juniang was slammed in a row, and she could not afford to get sick. Fortunately, the yellow paper amulet made by Lu Qin worked well. They did not live outside the city, but lived in Huangzhou city, so they did not meet Yekong. They lived in Huangzhou city and lived in Shenzhen. They did not dare to miss out easily. After staying for several days, they heard rumors from the market that they had visited Huangzhou a few days ago and now they have gone to the south to take revenge. So the 3 women quickly hired a car and hurried back to Nandu. Although riding separately is faster, Chen Juniang is not in good health and cannot ride a horse. The carriages were of course slow, and they were too late to get the news themselves. Halfway through, I met the merchants from Nandu. Upon asking, I heard that Master Eighth had finished his revenge in Nandu, and now he went to kill the dog emperor in Andu again. Chen Juniang was anxious. Kill the emperor, pay off. Did this kid eat the bear heart leopard gall? Don't kill the emperor, give away his life. The so-called concern is chaotic. The 3 have almost reached the southern capital. With Chen Juniang's insistence, they turned around and headed for Andu. Nandu is at the southernmost tip of Angguo, while Andu is at the northernmost tip. This trip is not too close, climbing mountains and waiting, dangling, and the 3 women in the car were anxious. However, it is useless to get angry. The traffic in the Kangnan mainland is still very backward. There will be no planes or high-speed rails. It is common to walk on the road for several months. They came near Andu. To their relief, after hearing the news all the way, they found that Andu was still calm, and there were no earth-shattering events. It seems that Master 8 has not yet started. Looking at the two anxious girls in the eyes, Chen Juniang sighed, I'm old and useless. If I didn't drag you down, you'll be riding now. Lu Qin quickly got tired of Chen Juniang and said, Goddess, what are you talking about? You are not old at all, not even wrinkles. Xiao Hong also laughed, Auntie, don't worry, Master 8 is not a reckless man even though he is impulsive, I believe we can still get to Andu in front of him. Chen Juniang was comforted by the two daughters, and she was always pregnant, holding one girl in one hand and said, you like to talk nicely, this dead boy, Kong this time you find him, you will not be allowed to go out again. Xiao Hong laughed. Auntie sees what you said. Our 8th master is a big hero. He wants to cultivate immortals and do great things. Chen Juniang also laughed and said, he can go out again, but, it has to make your belly bulge. Xiao Hong was instantly shy, her face flushed with redness, as if she wanted to bleed, and the rosy Sakura lips said, if you want a drum, you have to play it first. Lu Qin was even thin-skinned, and his little face turned red. Pink Fist hammered Xiao Hong and cursed, dead little red. People and Ye Kong's brother are innocent, what are you talking about? Lu Qin's lie was immediately revealed by Xiao Hong. She giggled, innocent, huh, I'm afraid that it's Chen Kang in secret. On the day when Master 8 left, I heard a woman in his room keep talking softly. Is it another woman? Lu Qin was exposed by her and was ashamed. She shouted, holding her arm, no. Ha ha, then you still say innocence.